Okay, thank you for that. So on stage today, I kind of have what I would call my dream panel. Three Aga Khan Award-winning architects. I'm going to introduce them alphabetically and by age. So we have Rizvi Hassan, who graduated from Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, which we all know as WET, in 2017. And since the beginning of his practice, he's been exploring the various roles of a design professional in unconventional fields. Along with two other architects, he won the Aga Khan Award for Architecture in 2022 for community spaces in the Rohingya Refugee Response Program. And then in the center, we have Kabir, who is a landscape architect and sustainability advocate who works in rural and sustainable architecture. He first proposed the Platform of Hope in 2007 when he moved in with a family in the slums in Bangladesh and designed a community space. So he'll talk more about that. He first has to live with people before he can design for them. He's worked on disaster resilient housing projects in Bangladesh and in Haiti. And in 2022, along with the co-creation team, he won the Aga Khan Award for Urban River Spaces. And Marina Tabassum is the principal architect of Marina Tabassum Architects. In 2016, she won the Aga Khan Award for Architecture for the design of the Bedaruf Mosque. And in 2021, she founded FACE, which is the Foundation for Architects and Community Equity. And this is an organization which mirrors her belief that the boundaries between architecture, design, technology, art, and community engagement are blurred. So all three have separately told me that they are parts of teams and others deserve credit for their Aga Khan Awards. So I'll let them elaborate and give credit to the other people who they feel deserve this credit. But I think that is very telling about the way architects work, and that they were all like, no, it wasn't just me. So we're going to talk about engaging the community in projects today. Kabir has already pointed out to me that our session should have been called With the People and not For the People, and he'll elaborate on that. And I thought it would be more interesting for us if they each talked about how they engage the community, their strategies, by giving a project as an example. So we're going to do that. So if we can go to the first slide, please. There we go. I just thought I'd explain what the Aga Khan Award is. It's given to projects, I mean, we probably all know in the room, so apologies if I'm kind of choice-explaining this to you, but the Aga Khan Award for Architecture is given to projects that set new standards of excellence in architecture, planning practices, historic preservation, and landscape architecture. It's one of the most prestigious architecture awards globally. And the fact that two projects from Bangladesh won the award last year is really amazing. I don't know if that's ever happened before. And Bangladesh actually has a history of kind of dominating the Aga Khan Awards because of the incredible innovation of architects in this country. So what do we think of when we think of an architect? And I tried to kind of dress like an architect today. We think of people who wear black clothes, they're very cool, they sit in very cool offices, they build these really cool models. I thought I'd start with this picture of Rizvi. This is his workplace. This is how he works. No cool offices. He is wearing black. We'll allow for that. I'm going to hand over the mic to him now and have him talk about one of his projects and how he engaged the community.
Thank you, Darsa. I would like to be proud. This is a cool office as well. The photo you see here, these are all the Rohingya artisans and agents that we have been working with for 1.5 years. I think it started in the mid-2020 and we finished the project in 2022 February. So this project, Rohingya Cultural Memory Center, is a very special one for us because it didn't really start as an architecture project. This project is under the mental health sector of IOM Bangladesh, who were very visionary to think in a way that the community, the Rohingya people, they need to preserve their identity somehow and somehow practice their cultural essence, cultural works, and how it can really affect their mental health. That was the question that we started with. And later we thought, okay, maybe this is a structure that we need to display their work, and this finally happened. You see the mega camp, and that is the center, that is the Cultural Memory Center within. I'll just go up and work further. So this is a project that we started with a lot of workshop and a lot of knowing who they are. And you see a lot of pottery work and their products, their crafts. These were the things they came up with in the beginning, and to really show us who they really are. It was not that, okay, we have to build something and let's design something and randomly no. First of all, what was the material they were very used to and what they loved, that had to be understood. And we used to arrange a lot of learning workshops where the elderly person, their technique, their indigenous knowledge that can be transferred to the young, new generations. And this is a workshop on the Nipa palm pallets that we use for the roofing. So later they built the whole structure, the whole roofing with these pallets, and we learned a lot. I think all of our team will agree that we didn't know this technique and we learned this from them. And actually our work was more like how we do design studios in our universities, just in the camp with the community people and the artisans. And we used to ask them, okay, draw a weird wall that you like, that you can imagine. You don't have to see a reference, or just from your memory, what you think through and what you can think of. And they would come up with drawings like this, and even surprise us with models like this, and that can be, this is a window that can be converted to a table. So it was done by Jaber Bhai, an artisan from a Rohingya community. And the details of the model really blew our mind. And we didn't ask for this, so I didn't do that. But that's the moment we understood that these are passionate people. You don't need to ask them to do everything, but they come up with things that they like and they love. And that was a turning point for us. And later on the site, every day was an experimental, day. So, and design session. So we discuss ideas, philosophies, we discuss knowledge about environment, about material, and what is sustainable and what is not, what is good for environment and what is not. These discussions were the design process. Less drawing, less model making, but maybe just on-site discussions, and they come up with solutions and offered us with many solutions, and we picked like one. Okay, this is the best solution we can go for. And later these were installed and turned into place. And you see there are a lot of windows they also made. These are, we call it windows of memories. So we had this idea that, okay, maybe we can, each and individual artisan can make 1 by 2 feet window, but they have to represent their memory or their story. And they came up with the windows, and you can open the panels and you see a lot of small things like cows, birds, and everything. Their field, their agriculture, their livelihood, all these were represented in these windows, and later we installed them. And again, every time we try to think that this is a project for mental health, for mental well-being. So we had to arrange a lot of cultural activities, and they used to sing. We used to bring the best singer from the community, and one day is no work, just enjoy and sing with each other. And this really helped us a lot. Like after these sessions, everyone was so spirited, and they would do things better, and they would love to do things better. That was more important. And you see, this is a sketch done by an artist. So at the beginning, he was asked, like, what is your ideal space to meditate or to sit alone and remember what was your favorite memory? So he had this plan. There's a courtyard inside, you see, and the bands of spaces around. And later, the space was like this, some sort of. It was not intentional to like convert it from here, but somehow this information was in our memory, in our subconscious, and we translated to a new space. So these were the process that was very important for us to learn who they are as well, and to convert into the spaces where designing the new thing. It became so contextual and so easy for them that later they didn't find it difficult to really understand the plan or understand what's going on. Still, when you go to the center, you see they're celebrating the space, and they're going through all these new things. They're experimenting these new things by themselves and installing something new. So you will not see anything of a right workmanship or a very refined workmanship, but you'll see always some crafted things are being installed and they are being put away. And now they are celebrating space, and people know when they go to that center who the Rohingya people are. So that's how we kind of engage people in our centers.
Yeah, thank you, Rizvi. I think you noticed that Rizvi was talking like, we. So it's, that's how actually we work. We cannot separate I from we, right from the beginning, from day one. And now, after working several years with people, we cannot actually draw the first line. The first line or the first word are drawn by the people. Then we start. And that's why we use the word now. Instead of creation, we use co-creation. Actually, people, we feel that we cannot create. We all are co-creating, like, but when we are aware of this word, like we all are breathing, but when we are aware, when we are conscious, then we can maybe make use of that. So all the people are co-creating. So we as an architect, we try to ask ourselves that how we can be part of people's co-creation process. So we just fit into that process, and through discussion, through our work, through a lot of fight, we come up with something that we actually don't know in the beginning. So I will explain one project which is in Jhinaidah. It's not actually a project, it's a process. It has a beginning, but there is no end, like our life. And as Teresa mentioned that we really feel that the word for is not appropriate for our work. The word with is appropriate, with people, with communities. Communities mean human, non-human communities or things around us. And so this is we means in the beginning, if we say that architect, yeah, me, Suhaili, and few others, from PROCA Platform of Community Action on Architecture, and Jinaida is my hometown, so we felt that we can go there and start something, be present there, and make people know that what architects can do and how we can do. So we engaged with a few communities, low-income communities, and these maps, drawn. These are all measured maps with all information by the community women groups. Most of them, they don't know how to read or write. Very detailed plan, maps, lot of layers of maps. Then when they do this, and through savings and other methods, they get together, then we ask them, okay, it's your problem, try to solve it by yourself. Like Rizvi said, that we, like a teacher or facilitator in the design studio, we tell the students that it's your problem, you have to solve it, and we can be with you to maybe discuss. So they made the models, because I can also stand here. Because the language barrier, when they draw, I don't understand, and when I draw or architects draw, our drawings are so abstract, they don't understand, and their drawings are so informative, like so informative, plan, elevation, section together, and we don't understand that. So we said, okay, make models first, and drawings, writings, poems. Then they explain that this is what we want. Then we understand slowly. Then after that, individual, they also explain. Like she was explaining that she wants to build one. She wants to take loan from their own cooperative. Actually, the process I am showing, no fund is coming from outside. So that's how we work. Not from our pocket, not from others' pocket. It will go from the. So we call them clients, like the rich clients, and we architects are there. And how can we be useful, and how can they come to us, through our services? So she's describing that. We'll build a one-storied house, taking 1 lakh taka loan, and incrementally we'll build this. So all this, incremental housing and other things are we are learning from them. Then they built it. It was 1 lakh and 20,000 taka, around $1,500, with all good materials. And those who are, that after building this, how powerful they become. And all the citywide people got together. Here, Meninapa went with their team, the Prokiti team, the crafts people. After building this, they were thinking that they want to also make a business through their crafts. Then, when we did this with this community people, they became so confident, and we also became so confident through them, that if these community people can design their community, why can't the city people design their own city? Why they are waiting for planners and architects? I mean, they can be ready and they can invite them, the planners, others. So we started with the children group in the city. And then we asked, what type of spaces do you want in your city? And they were like, the best, like young girl, I mean, they were not thinking only for them. They were thinking about all, their parents, environment, everything. They're so sensitive. So our job, architect's job, is to organize their dreams. Then we invited, this is a situation of workshop. Workshop is very important. 5-day, 6-day workshop with all types of people of the city, sports people, education people, and this architect from Bangladesh, Nepal, Thailand, all invited by the city authorities, and we are sitting on the city map and trying to solve so many things, and drawings and other things are done by everyone in the city. It's really a piece of art, and this is in the municipality wall now, and people are seeing, and so many things are happening in that small city. And in the end, the presentations are done by the city people. We are with them, but the city people are presenting it to the city authority and others. City people means the rickshaw pullers, to all types, those who are interested, all types of people. Then now actually we have already designed together, co-created 5 kilometers of riverside, and these two parts already done, this part and this small community ghat done, and that's why we received the Aga Khan Award. It's not the end product. This type of products are everywhere. You can find this type of end product better than this in Dhaka city, but the story behind this, the art behind this, I think important to understand this. So I think I will end here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gopi. I probably should go and stand there. All right, so I think since Teresa started with the idea about Aga Khan Award, and all three are winners of the award, what is interesting about this whole award thing is that it focuses on cultural values, it focuses on traditional values, but it also recognizes the new avenues architects are working in different ways. They're trying to make themselves available. And I think one thing that you can see from both these projects, and even from our side also, is that it's about architects taking agency. Architects taking agency, and it's important at this point in time when we are facing so much of disparity in our human condition, economic disparity, opportunity disparity, and with the climate crisis is even becoming far more important. Rizvi's projects are more about the cross-border displacement and people who are known as the stateless people, who has no citizenship rights, nothing, pretty much in a limbo. And so when many of his works, and mostly his works, are focused on that. Kabir has been quite passionately working with communities for a very long time, and I must say that my work with communities started in Vanigram project when we were doing a resort, and Kabir has become, since that time on, we've become very much involved, and I always consider him to be my teacher in many ways, because I've learned a lot from him in terms of working with community. So it's about marginalization in many ways and how we architects can make ourselves available. But it's also about the dialogue, because the way we are trained in our architecture schools, we do not have that training of how we can address these issues. These are not discussed in many ways. Nowadays it's becoming much more important, and many schools, even in the West, are looking for architects who can come and teach the students and bring up these issues which are so important and pressing of our time. So I think in that sense, a lot of Bangladeshi architects are pioneers in that respect. And in a way, I don't know, I was always constantly thinking that why is it relevant in the Dhaka Lit Fest? Maybe we can discuss about that later on once we go through it. So I'll just showcase one of our projects. So this is a project that started in, I would say, since the COVID struck. So during the COVID time, the office was pretty much non-existent in terms of work. All the sites were closed. And before that, we had already worked in
the coastal areas of Bangladesh, and we've seen the impact of climate crisis and the sea level rise that's causing a lot of erosions, a lot of people becoming landless and moving to the cities and just being uprooted. Internal displacement has become a major crisis in Bangladesh. And it will be a crisis not just in Bangladesh, many other countries and many other parts of the world. So the idea was, within that time when there was no work in office, how can we make ourselves available or further this research? So Khudibari, that's a structure that came into being. It's a sort of a structural system that you can see Teresa sitting inside. So she's been part of our journey from the very beginning. So this is one of the chores where we've tried out this idea of Khudibari. So it has a long story. So we started in the office. We built models trying to understand what would be the best possible way of creating a structure which is mobile. So mobility was an important factor, that how people can take it away and move it to a different location, because people are on constant move. So how you can move it. So this entire structure is basically steel joints. If you go to the drawings maybe. So these are just steel connectors, as you can see here. So these are steel joints, and then we have bamboo as a structural material. So the bamboo and the steel joints together creates this space frame structure, which can then be dismantled and taken to a different location and moved from one place to another. So that was the idea. And the other idea was sourcing material locally as much as possible, and to keep the cost down as much so that people can avail this whole thing. So many of these chores are not so easily accessible. I have a session at 4:30, so I will probably elaborate much more on this whole aspect. So I just want to go through that just to show you the rigor one needs to take part in to be able to reach these difficult areas which are in the middle of the rivers. And this is in the lower Meghna River, a place called Jorhitla, where we actually did our project. Here you can see the entire team. So this is a team of architects, volunteers coming together, going to the site, understanding the possibilities and the difficulties of bringing in materials, what are locally available. So working on that. So these are some of the houses that we built there. Later on, we went to Sunamganj. We got a grant from the Swiss government. So with this government grant, we decided to build 100 houses all over different geographically and climatically difficult locations in Bangladesh. So this is one of our way of doing things. So basically, we created this sort of a brochure in Bangla so people can understand what it is all about. Then we've talked to locals, as Kubir and Rizvi both talked about this idea of engagement, talking to people, trying to understand, and also giving them the knowledge of what are the possibilities. So a lot of dialogue needs to take place with people, because this is an intervention into the vernacular. So if you want to make an intervention, and it has to be a sustainable intervention, then that has to be done through dialogue, and it's a longer process than we could have imagined. So that's the entire process. We have carpenters, we have for local carpenters who we also work with, sort of a knowledge sharing, capacity building, and all of that. So this was the first house we built for the poorest person in that village, which is in Tahirpur, and they had nothing. It was just a three tin sheets and a roof. It took them 15 minutes to take down the house, and then so at the end he had the best house in a two-story house. And the thing is, the houses have 2 stories. So the idea was in Sunamganj, as you know, that they flood a lot, and so the idea is that if it floods, people can move to the upper ground and save themselves. So we've built all of these houses in Sunamganj. I'll go more into detail maybe in the evening. That's our team. So yeah, basically I'll finish it here. This is yours, right?
So actually I just wanted to add one thing about the Khudibari. When we work with the community, we end up with a structure where you see the loft, and then the families often disassemble the houses that they're living in and do the bottom bit. but it looks so sexy when it doesn't have the bottom bit on it. And there's a drone picture of it, which we call the picture that went around the world, because when Marina won the Sohn Award and was interviewed, she talked about the Kuripari, and then people have the wrong impression that it's just this little triangular thing on stilts. But actually that is the superstructure before families complete the structures themselves. So I'm going to go on with a little provocation, and this was the theme of this session. What everyone is doing is working within communities. And there's a genre of art which has been called socially engaged art, which involves people and communities and debate and collaboration, social interaction. Oops, I went backwards. And in 2015, a group called Assemble, which is a collective of young architects in the UK, they won the Turner Prize. The Turner Prize is the biggest art award, well, arguably, one of the biggest art awards in the UK. And this caused a lot of controversy in the art world, because Assemble were given the award for a project in Liverpool's Granby Forest Streets, which revolved around refurbishing a group of houses in the community, that they worked with the community, and these houses were going to be ignored and torn down and demolished, and they worked with the community to create a really vibrant couple of streets. And this is what happened. So this is their work. And as I said, there was a big controversy, so let's just listen for a second. Can you guys start the video?
Well, there was divided opinion last night when the announcement was made that they'd won this prestigious award, with some experts saying that it wasn't even contemporary modern day art. However, has this project now booked a new trend in the world of art?
I think it is contemporary art because it's being done now. It's being done by the people, for the people, in the people's houses. I think this brings art out of its rarefied atmosphere. And okay, if it brings it into somewhere that people have opinions about and have disagreements and discussions about, well, that is good, isn't it? Because that means art once again becomes something that gets in the way.
Well, art's a hideously pompous word, and when you start going around saying, this is not art, it makes you look a bit of an arse. But I think in this case it isn't. It works very well as architecture. Why bring it in as art?
Art is always going to have that traditional aspect of being, pictures, and art can be incredibly expensive to buy and is not for everyone. I think the great thing about this is art can also be a community project. It can be about people, it can be about stories, and hopefully the art world will start to accept that a little bit more.
So I'm going to ask each of these people whether they consider themselves artists doing socially engaged art.
It's a very difficult question for me because I myself don't quite understand what is art. Because there has been a lot of definition about art and architecture, and people say this is art, this is not, this is architecture, this is not. So just get rid of the terms, and I just try to think that how it can be more useful and how people can enjoy. I mean, when people enjoy and they become useful, that excites everyone. Everyone is happy, and that is art for me. So it's very important to celebrate and be happy during the process and at the end of the process also.
It reminds me of one of John Hardrocken. John Hardrocken is an architect, teacher, Dutch, very influential for and he mentioned that whether it is art or architecture, don't give it a damn and leave it to critics and do what the field needs. And we feel that we add with that, what the field needs, but with responsibility. Take the responsibility. So if it is with discussion with artists, we can discuss with responsibility. But that's why I call myself community architect, because many architects maybe sometimes feel, oh, what he is doing. It's not architecture. And now we are now dealing with city planning. Planners are also, what they're doing, they're not even a planner. So we just call community architect. And you don't need to be architect or planner or engineer to be community architect. You can be, so we can call ourselves by our, so if it is as he mentioned, that we, from our own position, we can be useful to the people and to the communities. I am a landscape architect too, so I always think that community means not only human community, the non-human communities and all around. So, and that's the critic's responsibility is to find it out, that is it art or not, yeah, I mean it would be good, it would be good or it would be beneficial if they include it. If architecture can include this, then architecture would be bigger. Why to make it smaller, or art? Take everything. Make the umbrella big. So, yeah. So, what's the problem about calling it art?
I think you need to then define what is art in many ways. How do you define art? And I think we are living at an age when we are trying to redefine everything, redefine all our different disciplines, our the extent to which our capacities are, in a way going beyond what we have known or defined as a certain discipline. Architecture kind of sits between art, humanities, science, all of that. So it embodies everything in many ways because it works with human and human condition. It works with environment. So if you look at the object, the end object, quite often a lot of architects do tend to work with the object making, which tends to become art. If you want to call art with art with a big A, if I can say that. But if you think that that it's a creative process, like the way these projects are being done, or when we work with people, it's about the process. And I think if you address the process itself is a creative, it's a creative way of working. So then we are designing the process rather than designing the end project. Whatever comes, the outcome at the end is an outcome of the process. So basically, if that can be called an art, meaning that the process is an art, then definitely it's an art.
I can add one thing. Like it reminds me of Van Gogh or S.M. Sultan. During their when they were alive, it was not art. But you see now.
And I'm going to answer Marina's earlier question about why architects or artists, depending on how you consider them, are sitting on a stage at a Lit Fest. Marina has a book coming out in March. The book that, yeah. So we use that as a good excuse to get ourselves on the stage. So I think we have time for a couple of questions. Does anyone in the audience have questions for us? And there's someone coming around with the microphone. There's a question here.
Hi. Touching on the last topic you were discussing, do you guys feel like there is a little bit of art involved in what you do? All of you, or first Marina perhaps?
Well, what we do has a certain sensibility of art, definitely. I mean, we can't set it quite nicely that, if it's an art, artists has the liberty of doing anything they want. They do not need to rationalize anything. When an artist draws a car, the wheel can be a square. But when an architect needs to make a car, it has to have a circular wheel because at the end of the day, it has to function. So in many ways, our art is about functionality. So there is a certain connotation. I wouldn't say that it's without it, because we are creative industry at the end of the day. We are creative professionals, but the creativity can have many different ways of expressing. That's what we are thinking. So we definitely have that art component, without which I do not think any of these works would be considered architecture, because architecture has that component. So no matter what we call, I mean, definitely we all have our own agendas of how we want to perceive it. Rizvi thinks that he needs to work at the end of the day, and you need to enjoy the process. Kabir says that it has to be a community engagement and everything. But at the end of the day, the outcome, whatever it is, there is a certain creative process involved, and there is a creativity about it. So I would say definitely that we are all artists in that sense.
Let's take the question.
Hi guys. First of all, you guys are all doing incredible work, so very much in admiration. My question is regarding the business side of it. I mean, you're all highly trained, probably have done years of very expensive education and get certified in various international standard, boards. Is this model sustainable, having these highly trained architects working in the community that obviously cannot really afford, architectural services? How do you, run your business, besides doing the community work, right? Or is that actually a new business model? I don't know.
Very good question. Many young architects also ask, how can we survive? But knowledge is power, and also through knowledge you can also earn. So this is a new kind of knowledge, that engaging with people. And now many jobs are, many organizations, like he was working with, UN organizations. So this is a new breed of architects are now coming up, and they are serving, and they are paid for that. But apart from that, this is a traditional model, but we cannot actually get the answer from this traditional model. We have to we can find the answer from maybe the community work the government is doing, or the NGOs are doing, or the business people are doing. The business people, you see, maybe Unilever, or maybe there's a cell phone, Grameen phone. How they are making money? They are going to the people somehow. They are going to the people, and they are earning money, 1 taka, 1 crore, So if we understand this method, we are now going only less than 5% of people. And we don't know how to serve the other 95% people, but they can pay. Maybe little, but in a community voice bigger than what we are now thinking. So that's what actually we are trying to do. Maybe this is the beginning, but in future, these people, what you saw, we can create a process. These people can pay and get the service, like they are getting the service from doctors. Doctors are ahead of us. They could, create that, first aid and other things. But we have to do that. Then people will know there are architects. Now they don't know that architects, what architects can do. So when we can be able to do that, there will be a lot of money.
And Marina, you successfully manage a commercial studio as well as doing this sort of work. So how does that work?
Well, we have a regular office, of course. My office has been there since 1995, and then from 2005 I started on my own. So we have projects which are running parallelly, side by side, which brings in money at the same time. But when we started the Foundation for Architecture and Community Equity, where Kabir and I both are members of that, and that's the organization through which we do all these projects, issues of climate crisis, marginalization, and many different avenues. So we have, what we've seen that there are a lot of fundings available around the world actually. You don't need to go to corporates who are, who has big footprints with carbon emission, but there are many different agencies who are humanitarian and who believes in these ideas and ideologies. You can get funding for these projects. And we've been able to source those kind of funding. We are working in several other projects also, besides the Kulibari project. We're trying to also look into other ways of working with ICTDRB. We're also looking into health and architecture, how you can combine them together. So there are many other ways you can actually make yourselves available, and there are fundings available, and we can sustain. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is that all three of us are trained in BUET, in Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology. We don't pay much to get educated. The country actually pays for our education. So in many ways, I think it's also our responsibility to pay back for what we have been able to achieve or what we've been able to gain through these trainings. I think that's an enormous thing that we need to go give back. That's what I feel.
And those are kind of practical and theoretical observations, but I think what I hear both of you saying is there needs to be a new paradigm, a new model of how we build the built environment. And it's not about a client with a lot of money commissioning an architect and paying them a lot of money. Do we have time for another question?
Should I ask?
Go ahead.
I have a question for Marina and one for Rizvi. Marina, I was wondering about the portability of the structure. And I understand there are a lot of levels of volunteers who have been involved. So would the people living in those homes be able to dismantle and remantle again by themselves? And I have a question for Mr. Rizvi. Can I just ask him now? I was wondering about the involvement of Rohingya women in the memory and how you were able to include them, if at all. And also, I'm no architect nor a student, but I was wondering what happens to the rainwater that comes from the roof to the middle, as I understood from the pictures. Thank you.
Okay, so to answer your question, so when we build these houses, we include the community in the construction process. So we give the structure in terms of the steel joints and the bamboo and everything, and the roof, basically. The lower part, which Teresa was mentioning, they have to build on their own. They have to build a foundation. So it's a kind of a co-working together. So we are sort of building it together so that there is a certain sense of ownership that they have, and they also learn the process. So we have models that we start with. So they start with making the models, how the steel joints would connect together.
The models are called kulibaris.
Yeah, so they start with that. But then when we build the structures, they take part in the whole process. So they are also engaged in, and so they know where the bolts are, where the screws are to be tightened, and how they can bring it out. So this whole process is done with the people. So in that sense, they have that knowledge. So when it's needed to be taken out, in Shunambo they don't need to, because they are pretty much, what they need is the upper level to be useful. And in a way, we built about 10-12 houses in Shunamgon right before the flooding. And so the people for whom we built it, they were able to take shelter on the upper level actually. And not just them, but their neighbors were also coming in and actually staying on the upper level so that they could avoid the flood water. So that was quite a, for us it was quite a success in that sense.
Thank you.
So about the first question, about the involvement of the women, they were involved in many ways. What happened is we don't see them much in slide because they're a bit conservative and we don't take much photos of them. But embroidery work, style, making clay tiles, and also things, they came out and they made the go ahead. Yes. So they made those for us. Specifically the tiles you see on the floor, the clay tiles, it was made by a woman, Rohingya woman from Hindu community. We used to have discussions with them as well, sessions with women, young adolescents. So everyone's ideas and opinions were important. I think Shahida, a Rohingya woman from our cultural center, she's also here. She had a session yesterday. I don't know if she's here now. But they have been very much active. They have been poets and singers. I think Mustafa Khatun, there is a singer. She is probably the bravest character from our RCMC. You can look up on her on YouTube. She has her songs documented and uploaded there. And the next question that was about the rainwater. So the roof was designed in a way that we can collect the rain in case we want to. So all the three and four, on the four courts, they collect the rainwater, and there's a gutter system that channels the water, and you can actually store it. We did not store the storage system, install the storage system right now, but we offered IOF that if you in future if you want to install, there is scope. Right now it drains down the hill, so it's perfectly balanced.
So we need to wrap up now, and I don't think we have to give a white male privileged man a question. he can find you later and ask you. So what I wanted to do first was thank the technical team, who are the unsung heroes who make everything work for us. Can we give them a round of applause? And now a round of applause for our panelists who have